I just think I'm being myself, but in a more mature, wiser way. If I had Tony DeAngelo to manage him, he would be a champion on the next level. Wrestling Bret Hart, The Rockers, The Boss Man, British Bulldog, The Undertaker, great veterans who didn't kill me, but they took the time to teach me. I go up to Paul Bearer and Undertaker. I got 75 people here. They said, Vito, we'll take care of you. We'll make you look good. I can never thank Terry Funk enough for putting me over and working with me. If they would have gave me the title with the dress, could have been iconic. I wanted to show the world that Vito Labrasso, Skull on Crush, Big Vito was the best around.
Rewind, recap, relive for over 50 episodes. The revolutionary force in wrestling interview.
My guest today is an absolute veteran of the wrestling world. For over 30 years now, he's grappled with icons in TNA, WCW, ECW, WWE, and many more companies around the world. Former WCW Hardcore Champion, Tag Team Champion. Please welcome the Don of Pro Wrestling, Big Vito.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I greatly appreciate it. It is a pleasure to be on your show, the host with the most. The Don appreciates you. I mean, I was looking forward to this last week, guys. Just so you know, I was supposed to do this last week. Technical difficulties in the house because we had a storm, power went out. But this young man was gracious enough to give me another shot before I had to send somebody over to his house to make him do this. But hey, shoot away. Let's have a good time with this.
Yes, let's definitely know. Thank you so much for making the time this week. And of course, technical difficulties, they always happen, we know. But first off, I want to say congratulations to you and your lovely wife, Noel, on 15 years of marriage recently, I saw.
Yes, 15 years we've been together, 15 years. And for all those people out there, let's talk about real life for a second.
Of course.
When you get married, everybody thinks like, when you listen to your vows, for better, for worse, for sicker or poor, in our marriage, sicker or poor came first before we had a chance to even get out of the gate.
Right.
We've been married, we've been together 15 years, and we've been married for 10. Upcoming is our 10-year anniversary on the 27th. Yeah, 27th of September, right? So, but for 10 years, it has been a struggle. Now, my wife just had reconstructive back surgery. She just got rid of the brace. So that was a
Okay.
big, that's something good. So that means everything they put in is still there. This has been 10 months of this. So we're happy to that. We're going to go to our old place, our favorite place, Old Town in Kissimmee. We're going to go have a good time. She'll try to walk around and, we'll try to do our thing. But all the people out there who always wish us well and, keeping up with us, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. My wife appreciates it. And, real life sometimes doesn't work out the way you want, but you got to make the best of it. And if you're a husband out there or a wife and something happens where your significant other becomes disabled, you would hope that they will stick by you through your tough times. It's a
Yeah.
lesson, because I always used to say, hey man, who's gonna push me when I'm in a wheelchair one day? Well, my wife found out I was gonna push it and I pushed it for a long time. But then I still said, man, who's gonna push me in a wheelchair? You know?
Well, no, I mean, I'm very happy to hear that she's doing better though, and that she got the brace off now. I heard this whole new journey that you're on now that you're killing it with absolutely is inspired really by the unfortunate health crisis that your wife went through. Is that true? Is that why you're really taking it back into the industry now?
That's exactly it. It's like when she had this surgery, uh I was working a regular job and she couldn't manage at home. And it was like, all right, I gotta quit. So I started selling my memorabilia, and then I went back to wrestling. And that is exactly what I'm doing now. I'm trying to get bookings, I'm trying to stay busy, I'm trying to stay afloat. This isn't a get rich thing on the indies,
Mhm.
but as long as I'm paying my bills with the ultimate goal to go one of the big companies. Now coming up, since you are the first to know, I am making a trip to Wyoming this week to be on Vince Russo's TV show.
Oh, nice.
Oh, so the Don will be appearing on TV, and I will advertise it real soon. My wife will give you the details. But guys, I'm back on TV, so this is the first step. I'm looking
That's
forward to
awesome.
it. Yeah, I've been training hard. As everybody can see, I'm very lean right now. My wife yells at me because I'm too skinny. But when you gotta be TV ready,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Gotta be in shape. Teeth gotta look good, skin's gotta look good, your face has gotta look good. And that's just something from being a pro. When you're ready, you're ready. And I want to look perfect for when I go back on TV. So this is a big thing, something we've been working on. So it's a great thing.
I just had Vince Russo on a couple weeks ago, and he's awesome. He was so lovely to have on. But that's really cool. I'm excited to see what you do with that. And I agree, you look great right now. Definitely, you look TV ready from all the stuff you're putting out. I think everyone should go check out your TikTok because that is really what I've been seeing. You're just dominating on the social media side, like this time around in your career. Are you having a good time tapping into that creative side of the character?
I just think I'm being myself, but in a more mature, wiser way. And
Mm.
because I've been with all the Italian families, I'm from where I come from.
Right.
I am the nephew of Lucky Luciano, I'm the cousin of Paul Castellano. If I would have knew this in my younger days, I don't think I'd be sitting here. But no, but everybody knows I used to ride that lifestyle.
Right.
And you know, people thought it was, well, it's not, this is who I am, and this is where my family comes from. So this is my Italian heritage, and this is my culture. So when I talk all this stuff and I do everything, you can see everybody who tries to be fake Italian, fake accent, don't know what they're doing. But for me, it just comes natural. And when I go out there, it looks it on TV, on your TikTok, on social media,
Mhm.
and it does look legit. Now, where do people want to see me most? Everybody's saying the DeAngelo family. People
Yeah.
saying AEW. There's a new kid who just came out, Vinci, on SmackDown. There's opportunities out there,
Right.
and I think that if we put together something, it could be very lucrative and broad for everybody. And this is not knocking nobody. I think the guys up in NXT, they're doing a good job, but they need the guidance and they need somebody who has the credibility to bring it to the next level.
Yeah.
Not to say that they're not working hard. I see Tony DeAngelo working. The guy has the tools,
Mhm.
just needs the experienced guy to guide him. You know, like when I had Johnny the Bull, you know, I mean,
Right.
he was raw. He was a five-tool stud. I mean, he had it all, right? He just didn't have the experience, but you could see he had the goods. Nunzio, okay, I was there when Nunzio won his first title in the WWE, right?
Mhm.
And I would tell Nunzio, Nuns, can't wrestle like a contender no more. You got to wrestle like a champion. And that's used to be the signal for him to turn it on. I used to tell him, wrestle like a champion, pep talk, schooling. And not because Nunzio is inexperienced, but when you have somebody with the knowledge and the know-how and you know how to get motivated and get somebody to be better and top the level they're at, that's what you need to get to the next level. And this is no disrespect to nobody. And, you know, that's just the way it is. Wrestling one-on-one still works. Experienced guys could still share the knowledge with the young guys, and it can work out to be beneficial to everyone.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so you mentioned Tony DeAngelo. Have you been keeping up with NXT of what they're doing down there?
I, I keep up with it every week and I watch.
Nice.
And, you know, the writers write this stuff. And the way sometimes it comes across on TV might not be as it should, because if you're mob guys,
Mm.
if one guy's getting beat up, just for an instance, and I like the whole group, and
Yeah.
this is just educational piece. If you beat, if we wrestle one guy in a four-man group, that means you beat all four guys, and if none of the four guys jump in to help out, you're supposed to be wise guys. You're supposed to be there to take the back. The boss shouldn't be doing the heavy lifting. The boss should be on the outside. Now, if I was with them and I'd be on the outside, and and if I had Tony DeAngelo to manage him and guide him and groom him, he would be a champion on the next level because he's got the tools. And this is not to say anything about the other three people who are in the group who are very, they have a good look, they're hard workers, but they're focusing on him, and then he's trying to lead. And being a young guy in the business at 27, 28, I'm not sure how old he is, right? But how could you be a Don status if you're just starting out in the business when somebody who's been through all the business and been, a leader in multiple groups, that's the guy you want to have in your corner, right? Because I can always pull something out of my hat, and I can always pull something, I have something up my sleeve, and I can still bring us to the promised land, but make him better. And that's the object of the whole thing. For me, wrestling, can I still wrestle? Yes. People are saying, man, you still move fast, you still do that. But I keep myself in shape to where I can. But realistically, they're not going to put a title on me. They're not going to give me a championship run. So you go for the other side, where occasionally I'll get in. There hasn't been a bumping Bobby Heenan manager in years. I would love to be that guy because Bobby Heenan had a stable. He had heels. He knew how to bump. He knew how to work the crowd. He knew how to talk, get in people's faces, and you waited for him to bump.
Right.
I'm saying, so like it was something of like greatness there, and nobody's duplicated Bobby Heenan, and he had a world of knowledge. He helped mentor me during my time in WCW. It's something you don't forget, and the guys like that who take the time, like the numerous amount of veterans who shared their knowledge with me, which I say thank you to all of them if they're watching. You all know who you are, and that goes to every vet who took me aside and say, "Hey, Vito, hey, Skull, do it like this. How about if we do this?" And that comes from me being in the WWF in 1991.
Yep.
Because I didn't start out really on the indies. I started out there. I did a little bit of indies, but here I am wrestling Bret Hart, the Rockers, the Boss Man, British Bulldog, the Undertaker, Virgil, Owen and Coco, Tatanka, Typhoon.
Yeah.
A whole slew of great veterans who didn't kill me, but they took the time to teach me. Guy like Honky Tonk Man, who I wrestled numerous amount of times, he shared so much with me. The Warlord, who's a monster, right? Took the time. Bill Eadie, Ivan Kolo, Nikolai Volkov.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And here I'm
Yeah.
rounding up these guys I wrestled, and a Hogan, a Flair, a Luger, a Kevin Nash. You know what I mean? Guys who were savvy, who shared. And this is what the business misses. And I never forgot that. And anytime I'm in the ring or I'm around somebody, me getting in the ring and working out. I went to go work out for an hour with all these young guys.
Right.
Wow, I didn't have the heart to tell them how old I was, and I didn't get tired. And then I wrestled my match, got in the car, went to another show, wrestled again, and then I ate for the day because I don't eat during, showtime. I'll have a shake, a protein bar or something, mostly a shake. But that's just the way it was. And like when you were on the road, protein bar, protein shake, protein bar, protein shake, meal.
Right.
That's how you keep in shape. You know what I mean? John Cena was a big fan of that. There was a gentleman by the name of Chris Benoit who I used to share a dressing room with. But the thing with us was we used to eat the protein out of the scoop and then drink the water. A trick, right? You say, how does that work? Because you're eating the actual protein and it doesn't dissolve.
Okay. So
Right?
you get more out of it. Wow.
Exactly. So it's just like for guys out there who take creatine, right? Creatine, everybody says, yeah, this is great stuff. It bloats you. But the way it's most effective is if you drink it with grape juice, it spikes your insulin level. And in the first week, you put on 7 to 12 pounds. You're taking 30 grams like you're supposed to have a loading phase, which is BS because they just want you to buy more. So everybody was hitting 50 grams at a time. It's just 30 grams a day,
Yeah.
3 times a day, grape juice with it, swig it down. In a week, you got your 7 to 12 pounds. It's all water, but everybody's looking to get big and buff. But you got to do your cardio with it to keep lean.
Yeah. It's those tricks you learn from, I mean, the 30 plus years in the business now. And you mentioned, so WWF in 1991. I'd love to hear about someone specific in there who we just saw on Raw last week, Bret Hart. I think you were thrown into the fire pretty quickly wrestling Bret for the Intercontinental title, right? On Raw. I mean, that's insane. Can you talk about that and some of the maybe advice that Bret passed to you?
Well, here we go. Here I go to Raw. I just wrestled the Rock. His next match I have is against Bret Hart for the title, just win the title.
Crazy.
So here I am. He didn't know me. So we're wrestling and he's pretty rough with me, but I didn't say nothing. You know, I took it. He gave me offense. He was cool. Coolest thing in the world. Bret Hart on the next TV calls me over. Hey, Vito, come over here for a second. I said, what's up? He says, I want to apologize to you. I said, apologize to me. I said, for what? He says, I was a little rough with you last time. I asked to work with you today. You know, we'll do a little something in the ring and everything will be good. I thought that was the greatest thing a veteran could ever do, especially somebody at that status at that time.
Right.
And I never forgot about that. And when I seen him, I always talk about that. It was like one of the best and most professional things that you could do. Here I am trying, and I said to him, I'm just trying to be one of you. He says, Vito, you are one of us. This is learning. Good stuff, you know, and it's sad to see the Goldberg Bret Hart stuff. And I was there that night when the kick happened, you know, in Bret's career, you know, he got hurt. But you don't forget the greatness of what kind of technician he was, right? And you say what a great wrestler he was, and it was a freak accident, you know. And I know like the bitterness and everything and what happened, and especially when him leaving the WWE at the time when he had this match with Shawn Michaels.
Right.
There's a lot of hard feelings there, right? And then that happened in WCW. So, you know, history, what it is, you know what I mean? But for all the guys out there, if you get a chance to work with a veteran, he's willing to teach you, take the time to listen. You know what I mean? He's not full of shit. Wrestling 101 still works. And when you get to, you know, if I get to wrestle, you know, some guys, you know, who like a Bill, if I wrestle a Bill Eadie today, right? I'm not going to, oh, Bill, you know, you can't. Bill, what would you like to do today? Oh, Vito, you know, how about if we do this? I said, that's fine. And this is fine. The thing with Bill Eadie was everybody found out my weakness. They said, Vito, you tough. Man, there's no kryptonite in you. Until one day, Bill wanted to settle me down because I was going toe to toe with him. He's one of the toughest guys in the business.
Yeah.
Remember, he's one of the super machines, him, Haku, and Andre.
Mm-hmm.
So snaps me over and says, all right, Vito, we're going to calm down, grabs my traps. All right, Vito, we're going to relax. And I was like, I was like, no. And he starts laughing. So he whispers to all the veterans, grab Vito's traps, can't take it.
No. Was he like digging in?
Yeah, man, it was, and you know, you're talking about back then, those guys had man hands with man power. For everybody who remembers 30 years ago, remember those guys came along 20 years before.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a bodybuilder contest. It was guys who used to lift engines out of cars. These guys used to lift serious weight, you know, eat steak, milkshakes, you know, do that thing. And then they were just big, strong men. I wrestled the big, strong men.
Yeah.
Koloff. I wrestled Ivan Koloff in the Carolinas. That was the first time I tasted manpower, and I think that was in 93, 92. And guys, all he did was do this to me, grab me like this. And I was like, I just looked at him. Like I never felt power like that before.
Oh my God.
That's manpower. Now Ivan Koloff is legendary, right? Bruno, the whole 9 yards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him and Nikita, but him and Bruno, and he was a top heel. and he was like a bear, you know what I mean? Talk about big men, you know what I mean? Like Kevin Nash is another big guy. All the
Mhm.
guys when I was in WCW, um, they were all bigger than me.
Yeah.
But you're talking about bigger in 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". My body was big. So it didn't, the what discrepancy wasn't as big as there was because I just wasn't cut up. If I was cut up like those guys, you'd say, wow, Vito's, but when I look at
Yeah. Yeah.
the tapes today, and even with if I have my wife on, I said, look at this. I'm standing next to Goldberg. I'm not that much smaller than him.
Yeah.
And he was taller than me. And when you look at me and Steiner was ripped and jacked,
Oh
but
my God.
but my size, I was right there with him. Nobody made me look tiny. Even when I wrestled Chronic, those guys were legit 6'6".
And
And I
chipped to
wrestled
the
against
bone. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah.
Brian Clark came on one day. He put something on. He said, Vito, he said, you and Johnny the Bull, pound for pound, had to be the strongest tag team we ever wrestled.
Wow.
Johnny was a powerhouse, legit power. He had strength. You don't know where he got it from, but Jesus. And then when they talk about me being strong, I could handle anybody's body and I had power. But like when you're talking about lifting weights, but when it came to man against man power, I was there with the best of them strength wise. And when he told me that, I said, really? He said, Vito, you are a freaking powerhouse. And I just, when you talk about then you talk about the weight room and
Mhm.
lifting weights and doing that powerhouse wise and being in shape and just being that big, you know, tough guy. That's what he meant.
I mean, that's a huge pat on the back coming from him. But, going back to what you said, Bret told you, that's awesome advice too, all the way in the beginning of your career. Cause I can't imagine what must have been going through your head having, him having been stiff with you and then him giving you that reassurance. It must have really put you at ease. I'm curious about one other name you worked back then, the Undertaker. I found an early match that you had with him. I'm not sure if it was the only one, but did he pass any words of wisdom your way?
Well, here's how that match goes, guys. I actually had offense in that match, right?
Yeah.
And the Undertaker had just come on the scene, was 92 Nassau Coliseum. They were building it. My family was there, friends, and there were 75 people. I go up to Paul Bearer and Undertaker. I said, hey guys, I got 75 people here. They said, Vito, we'll take care of you. We'll make you look good. In the beginning of that match, which WWE cut, right? I had offense where I was attacking the Undertaker before we go into the clothesline. So they cut it. But
Wow. They did a good job. I didn't realize from what I saw. Yeah.
but that's where it was cut from. And they used to cut all the stuff that out back then because that's how tedious it was to make sure the product looked good. There were no mess up, no botches. Today, you see every botch because they don't take the time to cut out things. And this isn't directed at any one company. It's just a different time in wrestling.
Yeah. Well, Undertaker and Paul Bearer, so they said they take care of you. That's awesome.
But
75
it did.
people. And they did, yeah. I remember you were stuffed in a body bag too at the end. How was that?
Yeah, and I was there was no air conditioning in there.
It's so cool that you were able to get him so early in his career, though, seeing everything he's done that you two were able to mix up early on. You would then go into ECW a little bit later in your career. I've heard you describe that locker room as like a family. What were some of the things that happened early on that really made that true to you?
You had to earn your keep. And I went in there. I had just come from All Japan, and
Mhm.
I had been Mizawa, and I've been on in the business for 8 years, and I've been around. I've been to territories, and I've been everywhere. And I said, I still don't have a regular job. So I went to Taz, who helped train me at Johnny Rod's, and he was one of my guys. And I said, I'd like to come into ECW. I had to earn my keep, because I was too good for my own good, and people were like leery and like, but I earned my keep. I got a job there full time.
Yeah.
Locker room was a family locker room because everybody was fighting to be number one. Wasn't people just trying to jump to WWE or WCW. It was a team. And if you ate together, and when it came time, you fought together. Like if one of your guys got into a beef, you were right there behind them.
Oh
So,
wow.
I mean, it's something we all took care of each other, and I'd say that's one of the best locker rooms I was in.
It's such a cool time period too, that late 90s period in wrestling with how hot it was. It's very hot now too, but there's nothing I feel that could ever recreate that period and being right in the middle of it like you were. What were the differences, would you say, when you went to WCW with that locker room versus where you just came from, ECW?
A lot of established veterans,
Mm,
and I was a new guy, and people they think I just popped in the scene. And when they talk about my career, they say, "Wow, man, you got to WCW." People don't realize I've been wrestling in the WWF,
right.
and I went to Japan and Puerto Rico and lived in Puerto Rico and went to All Japan and went to NOW Japan and did Malaysia, and I did a bunch of tours, in my early career. And guys who've been in the business 5 years, say yeah, I got 5 years. Well, how many matches do you have? Oh, 15, 16. You're talking about me wrestling on WWF TV, doing the indies, getting a chance to go to Puerto Rico, from Puerto Rico going to Japan, going back to Puerto Rico, going to Santo Domingo, going to the USWA, going to Carlos Colon in the WWC, and then doing 3 more years there, and then going to All Japan, and then going to Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
and go to ECW. And then when I was in ECW, I got the call to go to WCW. So when I got there, first guy I meet is Sting, but I was early. I was anxious. I was nervous, and, I get in there. I said, "Hi, my name is Vito LaGrasse. I'm Sting. Nice to meet you." And that's how I got started. And, being part of the Mamalukes was a great time. Being tag team champions, teaching and hang with Johnny the Bull, who I love like he's like my brother, and just, having those great times with him. And the dressing room, making good friends in there. It was good. It was a good experience. Wrestling Hogan, wrestling Ric Flair, wrestling
Yeah.
Luger, wrestling Goldberg and Steiner, and tagging with Booker T and Buff Bagwell. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of
What's the
course.
first singles victory on in WCW? So I mean, when you talk about history and decide wrestling Jeff Jarrett, somebody I knew from Memphis. So I mean, you're talking about variety of guys wrestling Steiner. One of probably the best matches. I even pop off the couch sometimes. I wrestled Scott Steiner before he was supposed to wrestle Booker T, right? So Steiner was giving me every suplex you can give me. I was kicking out him. When I made my comeback, if you ever watch that match, I pop off the guy, "Oh my God." And I'm cheering, the people are cheering, and the people believed in me that I had a chance to beat him, which was legit because I built my reputation of kicking out
Yeah.
and coming back. And these guys, they respected me enough to give me that opportunity. And I was Scott Steiner in his prime.
Wow.
It was him and Goldberg number one, Booker T. Kevin Nash was in the mix, Hogan was in the mix, the NWO. And here I am, right with those guys, wrestling all these guys. And fucking Vito's even man. I think Vito's a machine, he's a worker, you know what I mean? And that's what I was. I was a worker. I could work to the top of the card, I could work to the bottom of the card, I could work in the middle of the card. Want tag team, you want hardcore, whatever you need, I got you.
Yeah, no, very versatile for sure. And I mean, the names that you were around, it's crazy. Can you take us through what a WCW Goldberg match was like, if there's any conversation beforehand, and what that power was like in the ring?
Yes, I'm gonna tell you. I thought the match should have went longer. I could wrestle this guy. Come on. So they were like, "Vito, but we got to do this." And, I understood, but here I was trying to climb that ladder Do you know what I mean? It was no
Yeah.
disrespect to Goldberg, it was no disrespect to Noel, but I'm trying to get up to that tippy top, and I was right there. And there's no shame in losing to Goldberg in the streak. There was none, because we were boys. And then, a few segments later, when he's having issues with Russo, and I'm going out there to protect Russo, and
Yeah.
I turn on him with Goldberg in the ring. That's a rub. That's an endorsement. Vito, take out the trash. You know what I mean? I beat the hell out of Russo, carrying it back. Wrestling the great Terry Funk on
Yeah. Oh my God.
the hardcore title. And I can never thank Terry Funk enough for putting me over and working with me. And when you look at that kind of hardcore match, that was two guys working. Wasn't really much said. It was, let's go to work. And he trusted me, I trusted him. And when there was time for me to turn around, I'll never forget, we were in the back going back and forth. It was a back and forth match. And he's taking me, he's giving it to me. And then as soon as I'm walking up the stairs, I said, this is your time. You got to do it now. This is in my head, like it was yesterday. So I picked up the garbage can, crack. And I'm coming back. Then he takes the bump off the thing onto the table, go to get him, throw him in the ring. We're going toe to toe. And then all of a sudden I'm pile driving through the table and I win. You know what I mean? And I know he's not here no more, and I know I said it 1,000 times, but thank you, Terry Funk. Thank you always for putting me on the map as being legit. Because when you beat someone like that, where you get to work with somebody like that, and
Yeah.
he hands you the belt, shakes your hand in the ring, I dare anybody to go out there and find a clip of him doing that for anybody. He did it for me. So there was something special about that. That night in the bar, me and Gene Oakland and all of WCW there, from Bill DeMott to the Brian Clark, Chronic, Nash, they said, everybody raise your glass. He said, we'd like to congratulate Vito. He finally arrived. And everybody in that bar raised
Wow.
it. True story.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That must have felt so good.
it did. It did. It was something, because there they are, and all these greats. And I just beat one of the biggest legends. They say, Hulk Hogan, uh, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. And then there's Terry Funk, you know what I mean? And there's a couple
Yeah.
other guys who should be in that category. When you talk about guys who are working, tough guys in the business, he legit is a tough guy in the business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he went so long too. His tenure in wrestling is crazy. But no, your time with Terry Funk is great, and I have heard you in other interviews too say it was a privilege to be able to get in there. Was there any specific advice other than that moment that was like more physical advice of him giving that to you? Is there actual advice that Terry lent to you in the back ever?
Um, those guys knew I was broken in by Johnny Rods, right? So I was broken in from the bottom up. And me being wrestling in Japan and tagging with Dr. Det Stevens and Gary Albright against Kabashi, Mori, and uh, Tokahashi, and wrestling, the greats there, tagging with Tenru, working with Mizawa, and I had been around the globe. Those guys, when they watched me work, I was safe. My stuff looked legit. So if there was something they needed to tell me, like if Arn Anderson said, hey, Vito, can we do this? And can we do that? Of course, I would say, yes, you can, no problem. Because I was a student of the game. And
Yeah.
people get, I was a perfectionist. I was a student of the game. I might not advertise it and I might not do it, but you don't get to be that kind of worker and you don't get to be that kind of ring general unless you are taught and groomed the right way.
Mhm.
And that's how I gained the respect from those guys.
Yeah, that's very admirable too that you're able to gain that respect from them being so early still really in your career and them being such veterans. I'm curious because it's known that WCW's heading more into like the final years was a contentious backstage environment, at least from the outside looking in. And one thing I saw you tweet about recently was the Bash of the Beach incident. And without throwing anyone under the bus, of course, I'm curious what your perspective was being backstage while that incident went down and what it was like.
Shock.
Shocked. Yeah.
You know, guys, things happen in wrestling, and Vince Russo's, one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Been friends with him for over 30 years, right? Here I am, friends with Hulk Hogan, great Hulk Hogan, and I met him as a kid. When in 1991 was a champ, he's coming off the Rocky movies. It's like it's Hulk Hogan, and in the Baltimore arena there was a dressing room in the front, and I had taken the dressing room in the front. Nobody came to sit in the dressing room, and Hulk came in with Jimmy Hart. He says, "Hey brother, can I sit with you?" I said, "Yeah." So of course we had small talk and whatever, and he went to do his match. I'm watching just like everybody else. My mouth drops, watching Jared lay down. I'm saying, "What the fuck happened here?" Hogan covers him, he comes back, and then, Vince, ripped a promo. So everybody was just like shocked at what happened. So Stevie Ray and a bunch of guys said, "Vito, what the hell just happened in there? What did Vinny do?" I said, "I don't know." So I went up to Vinny. I said, "Vinny," I said, "what'd you do?" And he told me what happened back there. And then I went back to the dressing room and I said, "Hope you okay?" And he says, "Yeah, brother." He says, I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm just going to go home."
Mhm.
And I was like, I said, "Okay, Hulk." I said, "You need me to do anything? Is there anything I could do?" He says, "No." He says, "You good, man." And what do? You know what I mean? You say something like that, "Here's my buddy," you know what I mean? And then here's Hulk Hogan, one of the greatest wrestlers of our time, and there's a clash, But, you know, and I say this all the time. Vinny was a great writer, very creative. Some people didn't agree with a lot of things he was doing. And a lot of times guys stood up, or like if I was standing there or I was around, I watched this, right? It's my friend. So you're loyal to your friend, right? And would you let your friend get the shit beat out of him by somebody?
No.
I'd always pray, please, just don't let this happen, because I would have to go and take a spat. And this is not a disrespect to anybody in WCW, but friends are friends. And I was friends with everybody in there, and it wasn't me looking to fight, but you always take your friends back. It's just like Stevie Ray sticking up for his brother Booker T when Mike Awesome gave him the thing.
Right, right.
It was an incident that happened, and I stepped in and saved Mike Awesome from getting hurt. And they said, "Vito, man, I says, listen," I said, "you guys got him all wrong." I says, "and we're standing there, and I'm the only one standing up for Mike Awesome. And there's my brother Stevie Ray. There's two other guys there, and they're looking to do some damage." I said, "Guys, you can't do this." I said, "Please, out of our friendship, please don't do this." Because you're a real guy, you're a real friend, and it's not being a hero, but you take care of your guys. You know what I mean? I always take care of you. Like Brian Clark and Brian Adams, they're two of my boys. Bill DeMont, we used to hang out all the time. There were guys, in that dressing room, and guys who were tight. DDP and like a few others. RVD is another one of my buddies, right? If I ever called them on the phone, Ernest Cat Miller,
Yep.
I call them on the phone and I say, and they see my number, they pick up, say, "Vito, what's going on, man? Is everything okay? What do you need? Can I help you with anything?" And being that in the situation I've been in all these years, I never once called those guys and said, "Hey, I need money. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that." What I did call for, "Hey, can you help my wife with this? Or do you know somebody who could do this?" That's friendship. That's
Yeah.
not imposing. That's looking out for your wife. DDP helped my wife with DDP yoga. Gave her the tapes and tried to help him talk to her on the phone. RVD, when he had his business, I'm forever indebted to him because he sent her a case a month of all the supplements that worked. Those are your buddies.
Yeah.
Those are guys, and that's not because you went out and did anything where you every day. I don't see these guys every day. I don't even talk to them every day. But if I needed some because we had a bond as friends and boys, that's friends and boys.
That's forever. Yeah. Wow, that's so cool to hear that they helped you out like that, though. That is really
All
that's
right. Let me tell you something. If anybody, and like, throughout the years, there have been guys who called me up and they needed help with certain things,
Mhm.
whether it be a lawyer, whether it be health, whether it be this, that, something. Hey, Vito, do you know? Yeah, I got you. Vito, I'm looking for it. Yeah, I got you. You know what I mean? And that's what you do because the boys are the boys. And I think it gets overlooked, but behind the scenes, we're still brothers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing sometimes in wrestling today. You know, you see all the stuff on there, about who's the boys and the FU thing, and I'm not a fan of it. Guys could just get along on social media, especially if you work for a major company.
Yeah.
You don't represent yourself by saying, F you to people, especially guys who are legends. And one thing I say all the time is Kevin Nash cut a promo one time, and it was a very inspirational promo about promoters and money and everything. And if it wasn't for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall breaking that barrier where we could get the money, right? You'd say, okay, Kevin Nash has a lot of great opinions about things. People take it the wrong way, but he was the one who opened the bank for everybody to get signed.
Mhm.
Those kind of big downsides when they weren't given them. Today's pay scale is much different, but it's because of guys like him who broke that barrier. Like when Vince and Bret Hart had the thing over money, Vince should have paid him. He should never went to WCW because Bret Hart is WWE. It's just like Ric Flair when he came over to WWE the first time, right? WWF.
Yeah.
Ric Flair was WCW. He was the Hulk Hogan of that, right? And Hulk Hogan was here, and Hogan was the Ric Flair of the WWF. When you say where guys belong, and it's not to say they should not have come, but when you look at it in retrospect, those guys paved the way, you know what I mean, along with everybody else.
Yeah.
So there's a lesson to be learned in that.
No, absolutely. And guys like Nash, yeah, you couldn't have said it better. It really paved the way for what we see today. And it's cool to give them the thanks that they deserve, absolutely, and that they
But it's
deserve.
something, but it's something that stuck with me all those years because it made an impression on me because you always take care of your business, you always look out for money, always look out for the boys, you always do. And like it might have sounded like a bunch of bullshit and whatever he does in his business, but those words on that day made an impression on me. I
Yeah.
never forgot it.
Well, as we start to wind it down, I want to be courteous of your time. One of my final questions here, Vito, is how you managed to make wrestling in a dress work for yourself in WWE. I've always been curious how that actually came about, and I feel like it's what a lot of people saw you as in WWE. So I'm curious just how that came about and how you made it work.
All right. We just talked about my extensive career on experience,
Yes.
being a worker. Places I worked, you learn as you go all the way through and adapt to different characters. What people don't understand is that they think I've just been Big Vito. Everybody forgets I was Skull Von Crush, a German,
Mhm.
right? I also was Uncle Chester, where I had the light bulb, the box. I adapted to that. I was a Harry Krishna. I thought that was going to be $1 million thing because I believed in that gimmick. That was a great gimmick. People just got hot by seeing me.
Yeah.
Pamphlets, Harry Krishna, Harry Krishna, So, um, then Sledgehammer Rock, the construction worker from Staten Island, New York.
I
Then,
love that. Where
but
which company was that for? I don't remember that one.
I was indie wrestling,
Oh,
like
indie
we're talking
wrestling.
about,
Okay.
yeah. But these were different things I was doing because I was trying different gimmicks,
Hmm.
right? So the Uncle Chester thing with the box and the light bulb, I used to light the light bulb in my mouth, do the whole Uncle Fester thing. I had the moving hand out of the box. I
So
did
cool.
everything. It was, and I wrestled like George Steele. So,
Perfect. Yeah, like crazy. Yeah.
so when people look at that, that was a great gimmick, you know, I love that gimmick. You know, and you look at it today and you say, wow, you know, I did do some great things. But then you go to being a mob guy, like Capo, like Big Vito, and then, you know, you're going along and then you're Vito in the WWE with the FBI. Now, the thing I tell people is I was under federal investigation, and the WWE had to protect its name because kind of got involved in some stuff they shouldn't have. So my persona on TV changed all of a sudden. So to show like I was a local crazy, the dress, it was just like Vinny the Chin walked around in a bathrobe, which people never figured out, right? So you say, how did I work this gimmick? I had to be me. I had to wear a dress. So it was like, okay, be this tough son of a bitch and doesn't get his ass kicked. That's Vito. Then you go along and you come up with little things in a ring. When the rule number one, when you're a heel, you want the baby face to sell for you. Right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, gotta make sure I sell for the heels. This way I get over. Makes sense, right?
Mhm.
They used to tell me, Vito, you need to have a steady comeback. So I adapted a comeback. I never was a babyface before, so I adopted that. Being tough, being able to be rugged, but have my guys be tough with me, extra tough. And I said, you know, guys, that Vito, come on, now I don't want to do this, you know. I'm like, I said, guys, you got to. This is because this is the only way I'm going to get over. So every night, I took a fucking ass kick. I took an ass kick. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So when they saw it got over, all of a sudden I went on this winning streak up to the point where I worked myself up to a championship match against Booker T.
Yep.
I was that close to being world champion. But then the wonderful world of politics and wrestling, I went to do the CW network that morning, come to the arena. They pulled me in the office and then they told me, Vito, you're not going to do your match tonight. I was devastated. I was like, why? I said, I've been working my ass off. I says, why? Well, you know, the network wants the Undertaker. And I was like, not cool. But I knew it was politics. I knew it was behind the scenes. If they would have gave me the title with the dress, could have been iconic because nobody would ever think a guy in a dress could be world champion. Right? But at that time, nobody thought I was going to get the gimmick over to where I'd be world famous. I mean, I posed in Playboy magazine with the dress and
Right.
did a great layout, respectfully, tastefully. Got
Mhm.
my face on the cover, got the centerfold. You're talking like great stuff like that, and then I don't get to be, I don't get have my moment. Then when it came to the pay-per-views, I would be given vignettes only. And people wanted to see me wrestle. And they said, okay, what's going on here? Why are they holding me back? Because a lot of people don't know. They say, yeah, it was a rib. No, there was a lot of things behind the scenes going on that I had to protect myself, and they had to protect their company.
Their image, yeah.
So it got to a point where it was like, okay, what do we do? And then it was Michael Hayes who came along. He has his own views on life, and this is nothing bad against Michael Hayes or anybody. And he just told me straight up, you can't have someone like you on the show. We need to change things. And that's legit conversation. And I said, okay. I went to Vince and I was upset. I worked my ass off and he said, Vito will come up with something for you. And I mean, I said, all right. So I went down to Deep South in OVW and I worked on this Muay Thai gimmick that I perfected. I trained Muay Thai, I did everything. And Mike Bucci and Steve Kern came to OVW, told me, Vito, you ready for TV? The next week I got cut.
Did you use the Muay Thai gimmick ever on the indies after? Or has anyone
I
ever
used
seen
it on the indies.
it? Okay. Well,
I
that's a
used it
good
on the indies, but people even today still want the dress.
yeah, that's
You
I
talk
agree.
20 years, they still talk about it, they still comment about it, people knock it, they're still talking about it, and people want to see me wrestle in the dress still.
Yeah.
I think I'm like, right now, I'm by the end of the week, I'll be where I need to be, lean wise, right? So if I had to throw one on for old Lang Syne, I'd look like the same Vito
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
People be like, how the hell do you look the same? You never age. Noxzema, people, Noxzema. Well,
Well, I'll finish us off here. Thank you so much for your time, Vito. I mean, this has been a wonderful talk. My final question: after all these years, 30 plus years, what would you go back and say to young Vito who's about to start this journey in wrestling? What would you say to him, advice wise?
well, what would I tell them? Don't be stubborn and be more open-minded. I could never tell him not to train as hard as he did because training is what got him out of, got him up and out. I would just tell him to probably be more, what's the best way to say it? Johnny Rodz, when he taught you a certain way, but I spent extensive time with him. Vito never get blown up. Vito be able to outdo everybody. Vito be able to out wrestle everybody. Vito, you got to be a perfectionist. Vito be a worker. I became that monster that he was, right? Because he was the boss back then, and he was the guy you went to see if you wanted a job. I became him in the ring.
Mm,
Nobody beat me. Nobody ever got tired. I never got tired. Never blew up. Even if I was blown up, you never knew it. Right? Always be tough. Always go in there, know your stuff, know how to mat wrestle, know how to do everything. And I just think that if there was a little more of the other side of the business taught to me, I would have been more well-rounded. I could never tell Vito back then not to train because I trained like a beast, 4 days a week, wrestled all over, wrestled everybody, wrestled the greatest in the world. I can't change that. Personality wise, you have to say, be a little more, um, I guess the thing is to be more with the boys instead of being by yourself.
mm,
Because like, if you were gonna get signed, they didn't sign all of you, they signed one of you. And a lot of guys who hung out in groups, a lot of those groups never made it. And nobody out of the group made it. And that's the way I looked at it. And when you look at stuff like that, I said, well, I can't hang out in groups. I gotta be me. You know that song, I gotta be me.
yeah.
Mm,
Good one.
shut up. So, but when you look at it like that, and I say this truly from the bottom of my heart, if I would have just been a little bit more open-minded and a little bit more political, I wanted to be known as a great wrestler for my wrestling, not because of who I knew.
Yeah.
And I was a great wrestler and everybody knew it. And even when the best in the world used to come, hey, you want to work out today? Nope, I don't want to work with you, Vito. No. I'll say, well, why don't we go work out? Or why don't we do this? Or why don't we do that? And guys just didn't want no part of me because I was this way.
Yeah.
And if you were the best, I wanted to out wrestle you and I wanted to outperform you. And I did not give a shit who you were. I wanted to show the world that Vito LaGrasso, Skull Bone Crush, Big Vito was the best around, hands down.
There's no better way to end it than that. That's excellent. Well, thank you again so much for your time tonight. I'm really glad we got to get this done.
No, you did good. And listen, when we get off, I like the way your hair is done. I was thinking about doing that out myself, and I used to have a little beard, so I'm thinking maybe get the beard back. Let the curls come back for myself.
Yeah,
The hat, you know what I mean? Bring it back
is
to
that this is all yours, whatever you want.
and then go back to male dancing. That's what I was thinking.
Rewind, recap, relive for over 50 episodes. The revolutionary force in wrestling interview.